everybody, welcome to number 27. I'm Jack, and today I'm going to be talking to you about one of Porsche's rarest and most underrated car, the 914 6 GT. Now, in the 1960s, Volkswagen had subcontracted all its development work to Porsche, and there was still one model left in that contract to go. At the same time, Porsche was quite keen to replace the 912 as a model to sit below the 911, so they decided to do a joint project together, which was going to be a cheap, mid-engined sports car. So that car was going to be split into two models. A four-cylinder version. Gosh, this is loud. He said it was loud. Anyway, a four-cylinder version which was going to be marketed and sold by VW, and then a six-cylinder which was going to be the Porsche. However, Porsche decided, after thinking about it, that in America their image would suffer from having such a close link to VW, so they persuaded them that in the US both cars would be sold as Porsches. And oh my god, this thing already, I can tell just from the little bit that I've driven it, that it is going to be absolutely amazing. Sorry, I had to tell you that. But let's get back to a little bit of the history while I get used to driving it. Oh, this is going to be just awesome. Anyway, back to the history. Interestingly, the man in charge of the 914 project at Porsche was Ferdinand Piëch, who then went on to become the really influential chairman of VW and the guy who actually made that the company it is today. During the process that they were going through of development, the chairman at VW changed, and the new chairman decided that the terms that had been agreed before verbally on how to produce the car, they weren't favourable enough to VW. So he thought, okay, well, he went back on some of those agreements. That meant that producing the 914 became much more expensive for Porsche. And that explains why it only ran for 2 years and only 3,300 examples were produced. It's a really rare car. The GT is particularly important. That is because it won Le Mans in 1970. So it came 6th overall, but the only cars that actually beat it were sports prototypes from Ferrari and Porsche, 12-cylinder, purpose-built racers. They were the only ones that beat this. All the normal road-based sports cars that participated at Le Mans, they were all beaten, including the very 911s that Porsche loves so much as its flagship. So I presume Porsche probably wasn't all that pleased about that. This particular car has a really interesting history because it was originally bought by a Canadian member of the armed forces who was in Germany at the time, probably still West Germany in those days. God, it's loud. And basically he bought this car, and then it was a standard 914 when he got it, a four-cylinder. And he gave it to Porsche in the late 80s and told them to convert it with a Porsche engine. So it was an official sort of factory conversion back to a six-cylinder Porsche car. He then took it back to Canada, and when he was there, he made it into a GT. Now, to do that, what you had to do was buy one and then tick an option box for an M471 option pack. Either that or buy that pack from a dealer. What that consisted of was the blistered arches, wider 6-inch wheels, some 21mm spacers and wider bolts, and obviously the different the seal coverings and the front valance. The chap who has it now has had it for 15 years, and he took it further. It's got plexiglass windows, it's got composite front boot and rear clam, and I think he's done quite a few other bits, including a much freer flowing exhaust. When the original conversion was done, They did put in a 911T engine, which is what these had, but normal 911T engines only had 110 horsepower. This has been dynoed before the exhaust was done at about 150, so it's quite likely that Porsche tickled the engine when they put it in. They completely rebuilt it, so I think they would have put in 911E cams and so on. So with the current Fiat flowing exhaust, it will have more horsepower than before, so we estimate really about 160. And Alan, who owns it, has told me that there's nothing he could replace it with, because there's nothing that will drive quite like it. And I'm really curious to see if he's right. I suspect he is, because already pootling around like this, it's there to feel what is in store. Wow. This thing it's quick, but more than the quickness, it is so raw. It moves all over the road. The suspension isn't super stiff, but I think Alan mentioned that it could do with a Geo. And in terms of camber and so on, it does react to everything. It does move all over the road, but the steering is magical. I get really excited about steering in cars, but the only car I've ever been in that has steering that rivals this is my Lotus Elise. This is fantastic, and actually it's incredibly close feeling to my Elise. I have to say, it's fantastic. What a car. Now you have this tiny little wheel here, which is absolutely perfect. The steering is so direct, there's so much feel, it's literally shouting at you. It's brilliant, it's brilliant. God, it is loud. There is one thing that unsettles me a little bit. The brake pedal has really long travel. I think the brakes probably work quite well. Alan told me they're fine, but it's something that's slightly unsettling for me is just the amount of travel that has to be used to brake. But this car, I can understand. I can understand why Alan says he can't replace it with anything. Short of an Elise S1, there's nothing that drives quite like it. But an Elise S1 won't give you the same sort of old car vibes as this. Oh. What a thing. Now you see the seating position is perfect. You sort of sit down low. Oh my God, it's brilliant. It does dart all over the road. That is slightly unsettling. But yeah, the seating position is absolutely what you would want. And it is just awesome. So inside, yeah, it looks lovely. It's got some 911 instruments there. Probably not as high-end feeling as a 911, but there's not much in it, and it all feels pretty solid. That gearbox, which is a 901 from the early 911s, it does take some getting used to, but it's lovely and mechanical, much like the 915 boxes that came after it in 911s. It's just the way this handles, it really is. It's a special thing. Something else about these is the looks. As standard, they weren't universally praised, and I can see why. It's a bit of an acquired taste. But with the GT kit and with the wider arches, it really does make all the difference. It's incredible. I love it. I think this one in this color and silver with the red and black accents looks absolutely awesome. It's like a little thug. driven. The only one that came close for me was my friend Frank's RSR replica Eden. This is just brilliant. Absolutely love it. So having driven it some more, it's just absolutely stunning. It really is. What a car. And in terms of pure driving pleasure, I don't think there's very much that could better it. It is just amazing. Thank you so much, Alan, for letting me drive this. I absolutely love it. Thank you all for watching, and look forward to seeing you for the next one. Please do subscribe if you haven't already. And yeah, God, I loved it today. Oh yeah, and if you need to ask me any questions or anything or contact me, Instagram is the best way. Buy a 914.6 and convert it to GT spec. It is just fantastic.